Today we're going to talk about the 5 main topics with food safety, why food safety is important, good personal hygiene, controlling the time and temperature of food, preventing cross-contamination, and cleaning and sanitizing. We take food safety extremely seriously here at Fox Valley Food for Health. It's important for everyone's health and especially those receiving meals from us. Most of our clients already have a compromised immune system due to illness or treatments, and that can make them more susceptible to contracting a foodborne illness. A foodborne illness is any disease that can be transmitted to people through food. The 3 main ways food can become unsafe is biological hazards, those are bacteria, viruses, things you can't see. Chemical hazards, chemicals that can come into contact with food, such as cleaning products and sanitizers, and physical hazards, things such as pits or hair or things like that can get into the food. We're going to be talking about 4 ways that we can avoid making food unsafe. One is through personal hygiene, controlling the time and temperature of the food, cross-contamination, and cleaning and sanitizing. Poor personal hygiene is the #1 way food can become contaminated. Most foodborne illnesses can be prevented with proper and frequent hand washing. If you're sick, have any kind of symptoms, you should not be working with food. We ask here that if you're sick, you please do not come into the kitchen until you've been symptom-free for at least 24 hours, and just to let us know as soon as possible if you cannot make your shift. The very first thing we ask volunteers to do when they come into the kitchen is to wash their hands. And when we ask people to wash their hands, we want you to be practicing proper hand washing. You want to wet your hands and arms using running water as hot as you can comfortably stand. Use enough soap to build up a good lather, and you can scrub your hands vigorously for 10 to 15 seconds or 20 seconds. Clean under your fingernails, between your fingers, your palms. Rinse thoroughly and then dry with a single-use paper towel. We don't want people drying their hands on their aprons or with any other reusable towels. We wash our hands quite a bit in this kitchen, so we ask that you do it when you arrive, after using the restroom or having to take out the garbage, after you touch your hair or face or body, if you're handling raw poultry or fish, if you sneeze or cough or have to use a tissue, if you're handling cleaning chemicals and then you go back to working with food. If you do a tasting, we encourage a lot of tasting in the kitchen, but if you taste, eat, or drink, you have to wash your hands, especially when using your phone. If you have to check a text message or take a call, we ask that you wash your hands after you touch your phone and that you not use a hand sanitizer in place of washing your hands, that you take the time and wash your hands for 20 seconds. In our kitchen, we have 3 designated hand washing sinks. You'll see where they are. They are only for hand washing, not for dumping pasta water or washing vegetables or anything else. If anything's ever out of supplies, let me know. In addition to proper hand washing, we do ask that all our volunteers use single-use gloves at all times when handling food. We ask that you wash your hands thoroughly before putting on the gloves, that you never rinse, wash, or reuse the gloves. If you feel like you need a new pair, always grab a new pair, and change the gloves as often as necessary. The guidelines for when to wash your hands pretty much also apply to changing your gloves too. If you're switching tasks, if they become torn or dirty, handling raw seafood or poultry, touching your phone. We have gloves in several different areas throughout the kitchen, so when in doubt, just grab a new pair. What you wear when you come to volunteer in the kitchen is important for keeping you safe and our food safe and conforming with county health department laws. We ask that your hair be pulled back and away from your face in a headband, ponytail, hat, bandana. We don't want your hair hanging over the front of your body at any time. No tank tops, short sleeves, and shorts are fine. We ask that you wear our aprons when you get in. We have clean laundered aprons here. If your apron gets dirty, you can always grab a new one, and always remove your apron if you have to leave the kitchen for a few minutes, such as to use the restroom. We ask that you have no loose or flowing clothing that hangs down that could catch a flame or otherwise interfere with your ability to work in the kitchen. We ask that you wear closed-toed, sturdy shoes only. This is very important. We have a lot of big pots and pans and knives and things, and we wouldn't want anything to fall on your feet. No sandals, flip-flops, ballet slippers, or other flimsy footwear. You will be asked to leave the kitchen if you don't have proper footwear. So I know that happens sometimes in the summer. People forget their shoes, but we do have to keep everybody safe. No loose or hanging jewelry that could catch something or fall in the food. And if your nails or anything are too long that they would rip the gloves, we ask that you trim that just so nothing can fall again in the food. Any type of food can become contaminated, but there are some types of food that are more susceptible to growth of bacteria and viruses. Those foods are milk, dairy, fish, shellfish, poultry meats, potatoes, eggs, any food that's been heat treated, meaning any food that's been cooked, such as rice and vegetables, and then raw fruits and vegetables that have been washed and cut. One of the most important things we can do to keep food safe is to keep it out of what's called the temperature danger zone. Bacteria and viruses can grow extremely well in the temperature danger zone, which is from 41 to 140 degrees. The worst place for food to be sitting is at 70 degrees. When it's around 70 degrees, bacteria can double in as little as 20 minutes. So our big goal is to get food out of that temperature danger zone as quickly as possible. And how do we get food out of that temperature danger zone as quickly as possible? Well, all our food here, we're cooking and then we're chilling it down as quickly as possible. We're obviously not serving anything hot, so the big goal in our kitchen is to cool everything down quickly that we're cooking. We do this through the use of blast chillers we have that are just big refrigerators that don't store anything but just blast out cold air. We use ice baths and big ice paddles that go right in our pots of soup. Continually stirring soups and other foods as they're in these ice baths or in our blast chiller. Anything that can be stirred, we want to leave open and stir it to let the heat out. Placing our food in shallow or smaller containers so it will cool more quickly, not having a big thick layer of rice or any other kind of food. And keeping the foods unlidded, not covered when they're in the blast chiller, so again that heat can escape. And leaving our walk-in cooler doors closed as much as possible, not propping the door open. You will not get locked in. There's no lock on them. You can just push the doors open. In order to be in compliance with food safety rules, we need to cool our food down from wherever it is over 140 degrees to about 70 degrees within 2 hours, and we do that using mostly the blast chillers and ice baths. Once the food is at about 70 to 75 degrees, it can be covered and placed in the walk-in refrigerator. Then the walk-in refrigerator will do the work of cooling the food to 40 degrees or less over the next 4 hours. Our walk-in cooler has a lot of good circulation and it's not overloaded, so we have no problem getting the temperature down within that time period. Here at the kitchen, we use a food thermometer to measure the temperature of the food as we're chilling it down. There's a picture here of a Thermapen thermometer that we use that's an instant read. We have a couple over by the whiteboards, and we just ask that when you're done using it, you put it back there so other groups and other teams can use it. Don't put it in the pocket of your apron or anywhere else. They've gotten lost that way before. And that you can clean and just sanitize the thermometer after you're using it, especially if you're checking poultry or seafood, and you can clean it just by using our regular sanitizers we have in the kitchen. Another way to keep food safe is to make sure we are preventing cross-contamination of food, and that's basically when anything gets transferred from one surface to food. This can be caused by your hands. If you don't wash your hands and you're carrying a bacteria or virus on your hands and then you handle the food, cutting boards or knives that have touched a contaminated surface and haven't been properly cleaned and sanitized, raw food drippings, or coughing or sneezing near food. There are some really simple ways to make sure we prevent cross-contamination when we store our food. We always will wrap or cover our food before we store it in the pantry or the walk-in refrigerator. Obviously, we're putting food only in clean and sanitized containers that's intended for food. Storing any ready-to-eat foods above raw seafood and poultry, so you will always see raw seafood and poultry on the bottom shelves of our refrigerator. Storing food only in proper places. We don't store any food at all with our cleaning chemicals. We have separate pantries for those. And all food items need to be stored at least 6 inches off the floor. When you're preparing food, there's some common sense rules that will help prevent cross-contamination. Touching utensils not by the part that comes in contact with the food, but by the handle. Obviously, never using the same utensils when handling raw food versus already cooked or ready to eat foods. Never using cleaning towels or reusable towels on food. If you need to dry some herbs or lettuce greens, we use disposable paper towels for that, and also using single-use paper towels for wiping your hands, not aprons or reusable towels. What should you do if you think a food was cross-contaminated? If you accidentally used a knife for chicken and then it got used for some raw vegetables in the kitchen, we ask that you either tell your kitchen mentor or myself right away. And we understand that mistakes happen. We would much rather have you tell us and have to remake a recipe or give everyone a little bit less than to ever make anyone sick. So it's not a problem. Just be sure to tell us. We do a lot of cleaning and sanitizing in our kitchen, so depending on what shift you're on, you're going to be doing a lot of cooking, but you'll also be doing a lot of cleaning as well, and we need all our volunteers and prep shifts to help us with that. Cleaning basically removes any food and dirt from surfaces, and sanitizing reduces any pathogens on a surface to safe levels. Obviously, we want to prevent the spread of any pathogens, and proper cleaning and sanitizing makes sure we can control any pests and rodents and keep things out of our kitchen. We clean and sanitize almost everything in our kitchen several times a day, when we first get here in the morning, before we leave at night, and as needed in between tasks and in between shifts. So any surfaces that touch food, pots, pans, cutting boards, our snapper containers, we clean and sanitize all our sinks, all our prep tables. If you notice any equipment is cracked or worn or feel like it can't be properly cleaned and sanitized, let me know and I will take care of that. We'll go into more details during your shift about how to properly clean and sanitize everything. But basically, we have a red bucket that's sanitizer that has a reusable towel in it, or we have spray bottles with sanitizer, and those are a general food service sanitizer that will kill 99.4% of all pathogens. If you have a bucket of sanitizer, you can use a reusable towel, and that towel stays in the bucket. And if you're using a spray, we do have to use single-use paper towels with those. If you're using a bucket and you happen to know the water gets cloudy or food debris in it, we just ask that you dump it out and refill it with sanitizer, and we'll show you how to do that when you're in the kitchen. As I said, we clean and sanitize a lot here at the kitchen. We do this, again, at the beginning of the day, at the end of the day, and as needed in between tasks. We ask that if you're working with raw poultry or fish, you be especially diligent about cleaning and sanitizing your station before going on to the next task with that. We will show you during your shift how to use some test strips to make sure the sanitizers are effective in our kitchen. We have signs up in the kitchen, and depending on if you're doing dishes at the dishwasher or the 3-compartment sink, we'll make sure those sanitizers are effective for you and show you how to do that. When we're cleaning and sanitizing our dishes, we have 2 areas in the kitchen that can be done in. One is at our automatic dishwasher, and the other is at our 3-compartment sink. We ask that you do not clean any dishes in the prep sink, which is just for washing our vegetables, or in our hand washing sink. We do have instructions by both those sinks about how they work, but we'll also show you that when you are in the kitchen. Obviously, like any business, we are very vigilant about making sure we keep any unwanted visitors out of our kitchens that could carry anything that could make people sick. The best way to do this is to keep our facility clean. We do that as well as we can. We also have a professional pest control service that checks things out for us on a regular basis. But if you see any signs of pests or flies or anything like that, that you let me know right away. And here at Food for Health, we just cannot stress enough of how important food safety is to us here. Each year, foodborne illness makes millions of people sick. Many are hospitalized, many die. And again, the clients we serve already have very compromised immune systems, typically based on whatever illness they're dealing with or treatments. So we tend to be extra vigilant and err on the side of caution. So if you ever have any question about Should I grab another pair of gloves? Should I wash my hands again? Should I or should I not come into the kitchen if I've been feeling ill? Always err on the side of caution, and we will always do our best to keep you guys and all our clients safe and healthy. Thank you.